Today we have three very special people in the room who will be talking through the program, about the program with us. We have Prachi Luthra, who is the Senior Program Lead State Partnerships at Khan Academy. She's also our ILSS Emerging Woman Leader from our cohort one. Thanks, Prachi, for joining us. Khan Academy is an edtech organization that works to provide world-class education to anyone, anywhere. Prior to Khan Academy, Prachi worked for 9 years, more than 9 years, in different organizations, including TCS as a software engineer, Teach for India as a teaching fellow and a program manager, and then at Central Square Foundation as a project lead in policy and advocacy team. She has also co-founded an organization called Guzarish, where she led a Books for All project to facilitate reading habits in students. She holds a master's degree in public policy and management from IIM Bangalore, and she's extremely passionate about bringing a change in the education sector for all kids. Next, we have Tripti Singh with us, who is Manager Craft and Livelihood from Mijwan Welfare Society. She is also our Emerging Woman Leader alumna from Cohort 2. Welcome, Tripti. Mijwan is a 30-year-old organization which works on livelihood and education and crafts with the help of, especially for women, with the help of craft. She has an experience of more than 11 years in the development sector. In her journey, she has worked on several issues, including the overall development and empowerment of some of the most deprived sections of society, education, disaster, livelihood, and craft awareness, etc., at some of the well-known grassroots organizations across the country. She has completed her BSc Honors Nutrition from ANDUAT, Ayodhya, and MSc Nutrition, fourth semester dropout from IT College, Lucknow. All of those things very important. We have these really special Wonder Women, as we call them, who are going to talk through their journey and how the program impacted them. And in conversation will be our very dear Archana Ramachandran, who's our Director Learning at ILSS. She's been leading our learning and leadership across our corporate, government, and social sector programs. Prior to ILSS, she worked as City Director at Teach for India, where she led the strategy and ops for the TFI Fellowship and the alumni movement to create a movement for educational equity. She's also worked with Infosys Leadership Institute, Boston Public Schools in the areas of human capital, competency development, change management, diversity, inclusion. Across all the roles that Archana has played in all the teams that she's been a part of, being a learner and an educator is the core of her work. Welcome, Archana. Welcome, Prachi and Tripti. Very excited to be in conversation with the three of you. Over to you, Archana, for the next hour.
Thank you so much, Sami. Thanks, Prachi and Tripti, for really coming back and being willing to host this session. Good evening, everyone who joined us here today. I know that we have people from on a very wide spectrum who are joining us, people who are already in the application process and who might want to hear from alumni on how they leverage the program. Some people who are considering the program and are curious to learn more, and some who may be curious about even this program and what we are doing. And of course, we have some members of our staff team who are here to cheer us. So thank you everyone for joining us here today, right? Before we get into conversation with these two women leaders, I wanted to set some context about why we're really doing this. So about a year and a half ago, we embarked on this big research to really understand what is the status of women leadership in the sector, right? And we said, because we do know that when compared to other sectors, there are relatively more women entering the workforce of the social sector. And yet, when we looked at leadership, it still was far from where we would like it to be, right? And so as part of the research, we learned a lot. And I wanted to highlight two specific things, right? The first one is what you see on the slide, which is we learned that the main question we need to ask ourselves is really around, are we building organizations that value women, right? And value women for who we are, for all that we want to be. And then if the organization isn't wired to leverage feminine styles of leadership, women will continue to struggle to fit in and run into barriers in attaining their full potential. So that, of course, from the Nudge Foundation, had shared this wonderful quote with us. And that made us think about that it's not leadership and say, okay, now how do we do that leadership with women? But actually, leadership for women is much broader. And we really need to be able to think about what is the feminine style of leadership so that it's truly valuing and recognizing women, right? So that's what we learned. And then the big question was now, what will ILSs do, right? Because obviously, this is a really big thing, and we know this is important. And we realized that there are some pieces that ILSs will directly do aligned to our vision and mission, which is we are in the core work of capacity building. And so we said that will be our direct work. And at the same time, we have a responsibility to be able to work along with the wider ecosystem to be able to influence the wider ecosystem, right? So that's when we zeroed in on this capacity building intervention for women leaders, and particularly for emerging women leaders. And I'll leave this slide up for about 10 seconds and then go through it. We picked emerging women leaders because we said, you know, the spectrum of what is possible is so huge. On one hand, if these women don't have the ecosystem of support, we could just drop out of workforce. Because there's so much of life going on at that middle, at that emerging for these emerging young women. So we said, at the bare minimum, even retaining them in the workforce through their 30s, 40s would be really, really critical, right? And then we said the potential there is, if these young women are able to operate at their fullest potential, it's just very, very immense, not just for themselves, but also for the organization and for the wider India, right? So that's when we said, what are some of the pieces? And this is to give you a preview of it, right? We said, we learned about equipping young women leaders to be comfortable in their skin, not wanting to be like somebody else. Can we let go of patriarchal biases that we grow up with? What is the support system that we can create for these women, both with peers as well as other women leaders in the sector to be able to do that? And really for women to own the space to be leaders. So these were some of the learnings that we had. And so when we pull this together, I'm going to show us a slide of various challenges that we heard as we spoke to several women as part of this research. And I want you to think about how many of these really resonate with you. We heard about the sector has a clear leaky pipeline, right? Where even though there are women at entry and junior positions, there's a disproportionate lack of women at senior leadership positions. There is a lot of the imposter syndrome, primarily due to the patriarchal bias in terms of, like, is this okay? Do we tend to hold back? And what does that really look like? We heard that while we may have a team, there may be networks. Is there a community to be able to really connect as women? And what does that need for a community to share experiences? We also learned about, when we were looking at women in leadership, we found that they were disproportionately in some functions when compared to the others. And very often we saw women being a little bit hesitant to apply for broader leadership roles. So we said, what does that really take for us to prepare women to be ready for any role that they want to take on? And the last but not the least was the absence of a formalized mentorship and coaching, also because there were lesser leaders at the top who were women. And so there was lesser mentorship potentially to be able to really grow into future leaders. So these were all the challenges that we heard. And so what we looked at in the program outcomes, I'll share an overview and then we'll go in and listen to our two wonderful alumni. As part of program outcomes, we started by saying, can we understand gender? Because today, what we experience as women is not just rooted in the here and now, but we need to understand how gender has played a role in history, how gender juxtaposed with other areas form a role in how we show up. So we said, really, can we understand gender and how it shows up in workplace? There are capacities and capabilities that we can grow on. And so what is that capacity building? That will be the focus of the program. What is understanding the self? Really going deep down and saying, what are some of the work on self that we will do? What is the peer community network that we want to create, not just during the program, but after? If you joined us a little bit before 6 o'clock, you might have heard about how we were talking to our two alumni about how they've been in touch with others and sometimes even across cohorts. What are the competencies that we have seen and that we've studied that will really play a role in helping our emerging young women to be the future leaders of tomorrow? And last but not the least, having a personal development plan. So the program is only the start of it, but really, how do we help you create a plan that will help you on this leadership journey beyond? So that's kind of the big headline in terms of what we set out to do, how we defined our role in capacity building, and then looked at what are the challenges that emerging young women face today in the sector, and what would be some program outcomes. So that's an overview. Of course, you can also look up supplementary information on our website, on our brochure. We will come to detailed questions after some time. For now, I'll pause and we'll invite our two guests to really hear it from the horse's mouth. Okay, so Prachi and Tripti. Prachi is, of course, from our first cohort. And first cohorts are special because they are, like the cohort where we're trying all the things and then they give us all the learnings and then we learn and we get better and then we do it with cohorts 2 and 3 and so on. Prachi, thank you for joining us. Tripti was part of our cohort 2. And so you'll also have that diversity as you engage with them today. Prachi and Tripti, to really get us started, can you tell us what made you apply to the program? If we were to go back and think about, ILSS has launched this Emerging Women Leaders program, and what made you apply for the program?
I would like to start. Okay, I was offered, my president of this organization. We all know her. She's a very active and famous activist and a film star, Ms. Shabana Azmi. She is the president of my organization. I belong to Mijwan Welfare Society. So she asked me, Tripti, would you like to join some workshop like this? This is like for women leadership and something like that. So in that case, I said, definitely, ma'am. It seems interesting. So definitely, I want to go. At that time, you guys took some interview and all those process. I think I still have the memories. Somebody asked me why you wanted to join this, why you wanted to come and be part of this program. I told them I want to make connections. That was the only thought I have at that time, because getting same kind of I'm a leader, I'm a women leader, I'm working from 11, 12 years in this sector. I chose this field. You can see, Archana, I've mentioned that I am a second year, fourth semester dropout in my MSc Nutrition. I left my MSc because I wanted to change the nation. Because at that time, when I was doing MSc, at that time, India Against Corruption movement started. It was 2013 की बात है. So, मेरे को लग रहा था going to college and doing that regular study is not fulfilling my dreams or is not helping me in making some change. At that point, I decided to leave my post-graduation in fourth semester, and I didn't completed that. So I can see in last many years, males are more audible, and finding a female like you who have louder voice, who have clear thoughts, is something very tough. So this was the idea. मेरे को लगा कि शायद हम लोग जाएंगे, मिलेंगे, तो might be मेरे जैसे और सी females मिलेंगे, हम लोगों का connection में. Definitely that happened. लेकिन उससे बहुत ज़्यादा और भी चीजें हुई. हम लोगों ने जो करा, this place was a blank slate. हम सब आए, we all were there. जिसके दिमाग में जो है, हमने सब चीजें डिस्कस करी. People were telling, we were initial days where like I still have the memory from the first day when Anu, Sayami, and everybody was talking. We are here to talk. We are here to discuss. We are not here to judge anyone. I still have the memory of our boot camp. It was only for 3 days. You guys are lucky who are in the third cohort that it's a 4 days and it is a longer program now. So I felt the change. I lived the change in me and my colleagues from the cohort. So there are a lot of things which definitely I'm going to share later in the session.
Thank you, Tripti. And it's very heartening to hear about that the community of people, whether it's connection, just having a tribe of women who get you, right? And you're able to just speak and know that you can be yourself comfortably
yes,
with.
nobody is going to judge me. That was a clear thing. I know that nobody is going to judge me for anything. I don't have to pretend. I don't have to think. I can speak out loud of my heart.
Yeah. Thank you, Tripti. Prachi, I would love to hear from you. What drew you to this program?
Yes. Thanks, Tripti, for sharing that. I could echo some of the things that you were saying for sure, especially the boot camp piece. So for me, I think when I thought about this program, and I was almost like on the side hearing about this program through the research study first, and then also like through the design of the program as well. I was speaking to some of the people who were involved in it and was really excited for this to come up. I think a couple of things that made me really apply for it was one, like just to get that space for reflection. And I think like in the kind of a role that I've been in past 1.5 years at Khan Academy, which is a very implementation heavy role, I felt that I was struggling hard to kind of create that space for myself because I was always occupied with work. And I think that was one definite big reason for me to get that space for myself, targeted space for myself. Second thing, I think I definitely wanted to learn some new tried and like maybe like some tested tools, because when I was going through the entire guide that was shared initially, or like some snippets that were shared about the program, I got to know about different speakers and different people who were about to facilitate those sessions, and how like people from different like very diverse backgrounds will be a part of this community. And I think I felt that this could have been a good time. And I still remember like this was somewhere in December, I think we started this program, and I did like one round of my discussion with my manager around my review that happened. And I did identify some of those things. And I remember like the things that I really wanted to work on, I remember putting those in the application for ILSS, saying that, okay, couple of things that I really want to work on during this time is one, I was very particularly working on communication. And I think like that was one thing which I wanted support from some people around me who can really help me get some of those tools. And I second thing that kept coming out in my reviews at work was, how do I make some decisions like independently, some high stake decisions independently, and also like be confident and assertive about them. And I think that's where I struggled quite a lot. And these were the two things I very categorically wrote in my application as well. And I also feel that for me, like both reflection and learning are the two things that I really value both at personal and professional life. And I felt that maybe this is a space where I can exercise some of these like community powers that I'll get to develop some of these things, or to get space for these things. And I think lastly, something very similar to what Tripti said, right? Like, which is just expanding my universe. I wanted to build a stronger network. I felt that again, with the kind of work that I'm doing, I may just feel away from people, like people who are outside my role. And I think that is what I wanted to kind of be connected to some like women participants, especially, and coming from like organizations that Saimi mentioned at the beginning. All my organizations are being run by women right now. And I think that made me feel that nothing like that, if I can get like a community similar to that outside as well. So I think those were like a couple of reasons for me to apply for this program. I don't know if some of these maybe resonate with people who have joined the call as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Prachi. It's always beautiful to see how different people of the cohort come in for slightly different reasons, and yet there are strong themes which are common to all. Very beautiful to listen to that. Prachi, I'm going to ask you to build on what you just shared. So if you were to look back now, at the program and since then, what would you say are your top learnings from the program? Because obviously you came in looking for like those three pieces, right? Around communication, how to make decisions more independently, as well as the network. And if you were to look back now, what would you say are your key learnings?
I think for me, I think when I think about the program, I now in retrospect and honestly was doing like some reflection even now for this talk, right? Like what did I really start doing? So I think I still feel, and some discussion that I've had with my manager as well, that I felt that ILSS came in at a good time for me. I think for me, I started looking at my career in a very linear approach. Okay, I've done classroom experience in Headspace. I've had like some school experience. I've worked with at a policy level, now implementation at scale. And these are the roles that I'm doing. This is how I'll progress. And one day maybe I'll reach XYZ role in an org, right? And I think those were things that almost like ILSS pushed me to dig deeper. And I remember like my conversation with my mentor. And I think that's one of the things that I really hold very special for me even now, and was still telling her sometime back. I mailed her telling her about this, that how I really that really stuck to me was like, how do I actually start creating different opportunities in my current role? And I think that feeling of using my current role to the potential that I can is something that I got in that conversation with my mentor, and how I started like really like I would say leveraging my current opportunities that I get at work to the full to its fullest potential. And I think that's one thing that I really learned from my mentor back then. And I think second thing, again, like there were many speaker sessions. I don't know how many of the people are already aware of those speaker sessions, but I would really look up to them. And I know like it was very hard to come back on a Saturday morning to do some of these sessions, but I think I really like waited for those sessions. And I still remember one session with a professor from IIM Bangalore, again has been my professor at college as well, and I met her again here. And I remember one thing while she was sharing her own story. She said that I don't know what my potential is, and I think that really stayed with me. I felt that for my childhood, or even like I was not like a topper in like boards or like college, and I always felt that I started dreaming big through my career, and I felt scared of dreaming big. And I think that is this conversation that stayed with me. And I was like, okay, I got that confidence to be able to say, okay, I can also do it. I can also dream it. And that entire mindset of am I good enough is something that was catered with some of these conversations. Not only those, but also like many sessions at bootcamp kind of made me remember that. And I think that conversation has stayed with me and has helped me a lot in terms of doing some of these things. I think specifically on the things that I mentioned in terms of why I applied, and like specific to, let's say, decision making, I still remember that in our online sessions, there used to be spaces where they would give us like a post work after a session. And one of the post works, we had to kind of actually exercise what we are saying in the session or what we are learning in the session. And decision making continued to be in my back, like in my sessions, right? Because I was practicing it from the bootcamp time with Tim Shell to like different conversations that we were having with Gayatri back then. I remember one time I came back to the session and I said that, okay, I had this meeting with a commissioner in Maharashtra and I led it on my own and I didn't go back to my manager. And I think I needed that nudge from that community to kind of make me like do that. And honestly, like I do see that change in myself, and I've been hearing that from my manager also. So I think that was also like some of those key things that happened for me post the program or during the program as well. I'll pause here and maybe like hand it over to Tripti.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prachi. Tripti, would love to hear from you. For folks joining us as attendees today, if there are questions that you've come in with or that are emerging for you as you listen to these women leaders, do post them and we'll get to them really shortly. Tripti, over to you.
Yeah, sure. What are the key learnings? Seriously, you're like, I just told you, like, I am into this sector from like 11, 12 years. I am representing many people at many platforms. But when times come to represent myself, like, I take a step back because I can tell about other problems. But definitely, because the society is always judgmental about the females. We cannot express ourselves so easily. We cannot express our feelings. We have to be in some specific role set, like in Gayatri's words, in a box. We are always in a box, some box. So during the session, the first thing I realized is about the double duties. I know, like we all are from social sector, we know there are types of double duties, but we are like doing it like it's a normal thing for us. But yes, we can say no. We can ask other people to do those things, and we should respect our things. I still remember, I don't know who said this, but it was a suggestion that never say no to the opportunities coming to you. हमें मना करा जाता है. We females always think about कि नहीं, पहले we have to fulfill all those goals जो family ने या society ने हमें दिया है. शादी करो, बच्चा करो. If you are in some office, you have to do पहले ये वाला काम. अगर बाहर की you are getting opportunities, no, पहले fix करो. No, वो opportunities को accept करना is something बहुत छोटी सी चीज, लेकिन this is a life changing thing for me. And trust me, I have inculcated this to my women. I lead a team of all women. I am working with almost more than 1,000 women right now. Like core team, I have of around 50-20 women, and I'm connected to at least 1,000 women. I've said to many of them कि अपने पास आने वाली opportunities को मना नहीं करना है. पता नहीं दोबारा मिले कि नहीं मिले. It can change your life. So I stopped thinking about कि होनी है नहीं होना है. Okay, fine. This is the opportunity. I know myself best, and if this thing can change or add something to my personality, I should accept it. That was the biggest learning from that whole ILSS thing. And it could be a very normal thing for others, but it was a very big thing for me. Then I learned how to get out of from the social categorization, like for female and a male in the society. And I think I'm lucky that the male persons near my surroundings, near me, started understanding this thing. Because after and during, like after starting of the session, I started inculcating those things. I can do this. I have to do this. I have to prioritize my things. Like if I'm doing something, I am doing that thing. Okay, fine. If you're my partner or my family or my friend, you have to adjust according to me. If I'm adjusting at some point, you can adjust too. So I started prioritizing myself. I started being myself. बहुत ज्यादा बड़ी बात है अर्चना. It's not a normal thing. शायद हम लोगों को हमेशा ये सिखाया जाता है कि एडजस्ट करो. एक अच्छी लड़की कौन है जो सबसे ज्यादा एडजस्ट करती है, किसी को मना नहीं करती है, सबके काम करती है, भले वो थक के मर जाए. कुछ नहीं, there's nothing. So I बहुत कई जगह पे सुना होगा सब में, start saying no. लेकिन जिस दिन, the day a female, a girl or a wife says no for anything, वहां पे वो बुरी हो जाती है. पढ़ने में, सुनने में, दूसरे के मुंह से सुनने में बहुत अच्छा लगता है. You can say no, you can deny, you can delay. उसके अलावा I still have a memory of, I think it was Jyotsna's session or someone's session. It was like she said कि it's okay, you can no, I think it was someone else's session. Like we can it's not always, it's not necessary to be on the top of everything. हमसे भी गलतियां होती हैं. If you are trying for something, why women leaders are not promoted? Because औरतें गलतियां करती हैं. अरे, we are multitaskers. We handle a lot of things. We are trying to be men in men's society. हमें अपने घर की responsibilities भी करनी है. हमें we have to do a lot of things, and these are very basic things we don't talk about. Like we, this women from social sector, we talk about big things. ये चेंज करना है, वो चेंज करना है, यहाँ इसके बारे में लिटरेसी पे काम कर रहे हैं तो इतना परसेंटेज दिखना चाहिए. लेकिन छोटी छोटी चीजें जो एक्चुअली हमारे खुद के साथ हो रहा है, ILSS is all about all those small things we don't talk about. The peer learning group, it became like a family. That peer group, seriously, we connected after the session, and we are still in that WhatsApp group. We used to ask about each other, how are you, what's going on. Catherine, Ankita, Lopa, they were my peer learning group members, and it became a family. The ecoship, like the org advisor or the mentor we got, they gave us very good, like we were free to discuss, we were free to say anything. I still have a memory of Krishna, a participant from our cohort 2. The very first day, she was so quiet. She was not talking to anyone. She was just asking some questions. But on the third day, I think you must have memory of Krishna. She was so happy, and she was sharing this again and again. Ki, this is the place where nobody is judging me, because people were judging for her sexuality, about her nature and other things. But at that point, at ILSS training, nobody was judging her. We were discussing, okay, bitching is okay. We can in evening we can go to our flatmate or our family and say bad words about the boss or some colleague or some other thing. It's okay to discuss. हमेशा हम औरतों को क्यों जज करना है, हम हमेशा क्यों सोचते रहे. सीरियसली अभी आई एम हियर, आई डोंट थिंक कि लोग इतना शायद पीपल आर गेटिंग मी. लेकिन जब ये ILSS ट्रेनिंग होगी ना, यू विल रियलाइज ये जो चीज कह रही हूँ ना मैं, दिस इज वेरी एबनॉर्मल, क्योंकि हम लोगों ने इसको एबनॉर्मल बना दिया है. हम डिस्कस नहीं करते हैं. आई एम वर्किंग विद अ टीम ऑफ फीमेल्स where definitely I am not getting the work done very fast, because all those women have their responsibilities. They are mother, they are daughter-in-laws, they are daughters, they are into specific, because मैं गाँव में हूँ अभी. Right now I'm from last 1.5 year I'm in a village, and every occasion घर पे किसी की तबीयत खराब हो गई, कोई खेत में कटाई होनी है, या कोई बीमार हो गया, गाँव में किसी की शादी है, सबसे पहले इफेक्ट होने वाला कौन? द फीमेल. इट डजंट मीन कि उनको निकाल के बाहर कर दें. दे आर डूइंग देयर वर्क सो वेल, हाँ, लेकिन प्रॉब्लम्स होती हैं. सो देयर आर अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स जो ILSS ने मुझे रियलाइज कराया, व्हिच आई वाज जस्ट सप्रेसिंग थिंग्स. बीइंग अ पर्सन फ्रॉम सोशल सेक्टर, स्टिल आई वाज सप्रेसिंग ऑल दोस थिंग्स. लाइक किसी और की बात मैं क्या करूं, आई वाज डूइंग दिस टू माई सेल्फ. आई डिस्कवर्ड अ न्यू पर्सनैलिटी इन माई सेल्फ.
Yeah. And it's so beautifully said, right? And making a connection to what Prachi also shared. And if I were to pull together both, one of our learnings with the two cohorts has been, yes, there is how the world sees women, how family sees women, how men see women, but how do we see ourselves? How do I see myself? And how is that evolving so that we are able to not only operate at full potential, but almost redefine what potential is, right? Prachi said, how do I today even know what full potential is? Maybe I have a very narrow definition of potential. And so I don't think the journey of self-discovery to be able to say, what are some of the, how have you seen yourself? How have I seen myself? And how is that open to change and evolution is something that we've seen has been such a remarkable learning for several participants across our cohort, across both our cohorts. And of course, on top of that is, tools, frameworks, tips, the community. I think both of you have spoken about it in terms of whether it's peers, whether it's mentors, speakers, and what they bring. I'm going to come back to both of you for one final question, and then there are some questions on the chat window, so I'd love to go to them as well. So it's been lovely listening to both your experiences, right? What brought you here, and then to think about what are some of the learnings. As you look at and connect with people who are considering this program, what is any advice or tip that you would have for our potential applicants and participants? Prachi, if you want to begin with you and then Tripti.
Yeah, I think for me, I think one advice from my end would definitely be that it is generally mostly hard for most of us, is what I can say, to kind of take out time for any additional program slash learning experience, as most of us get really like busy with the day-to-day work in our own roles, in our own capacities. And I think one thing that I learned after doing this, and I remember like the 6 weeks that I was a part of this program, they were not very easy for me. I had a lot of travel planned. I had a lot of personal things that came up, which were not so pleasant as well. But I still feel, looking back, that if I would have not done it then, I don't know if I would have been able to do it later as well. So in short, I would say there's never a good time. And I think like looking out for yourself and creating that community for yourself is something that will make you feel more safe in this world, in this social sector as well for yourself. And I think that is what I feel like. I always feel I've never felt alone in this place, right? Like tomorrow if I have to change my job, I know I have my people like there for me who can always like help me, extend that help for me. So I think, yeah, my only advice is that don't wait. I think go and experience this. And I think there's a lot for in the program to offer, not just for you to become more aware. As Tripti also mentioned, a lot of things around how she discovered herself during the program. A lot of it happened to me as well. So I think like that can definitely be an amazing journey for a lot of you who are here in this room today. So yeah, that's from my end. Tripti, over to you.
Thanks, Prachi. I agree that there can never be the right time. I feel like there's always so many things that's happening. Yeah, thank you.
I think, okay, the sessions like this is trust me, Archana, this is a very small time when we cannot express our whole journey of ILSS training, but still I'm just trying to say this, compile it, that giving time for the transformation is very important. So I can resonate with Prachi definitely that there's no good time for anything, and we cannot. I don't want, just don't want to say anything about the sessions. They were wonderful, but for all the participants, take all the exercises after the session seriously. Trust me, it gives you space or a thought to think about yourself, about your surrounding, and about your growth. Those exercises were wonderful. Right, initially we were like, okay, fine, yeah, it's a work, it's like homework karna hai, and after the session, but we when after doing those things now, it was kind of realization that okay, fine, this was the problem, and see, I am telling myself, see, this is the solution, dude. The solution is in you, and you can find it. It's just think about it, and you will get everything. The sessions were wonderful. The exercises were wonderful. Peer learning group, mentor, ecosystem guide, everything was so good. And I'm seriously jealous with the participants of this cohort, because you guys are going to get it longer, because R was very small. Like it was like 3 days boot camp and 3 months done. I think after 10th, 12th cohort, I will join you again, because तब तक और additions हो जाएंगे, and definitely फिर से एक energy, then an energyful जो environment था, that was very good, and just come and join. You'll find everything. Because I just want to add one thing. I think it was Gayatri's session, and she was talking about ETC, emotion, truth, and choice wala thing, where she was telling us how can we get ourselves out from the box. हम लोग हमेशा किसी ना किसी एक बॉक्स में घिरे हुए होते हैं, and think about, okay, fine, ये करेंगे तो क्या होगा, फिर ये करेंगे तो क्या होगा. She told us the way how can we get out from that thing. That was a very small but very helpful activity. So this ILSS session is full of all those things जो आप लोगों को मिलेगा, and come and join. Just don't think, enjoy it. That is the only thing I want to end with, or like done.
Sure. Thank you, Tripti. Thank you, Prachi, so much. In fact, we might also bring you in for some of the questions based on what are some questions that are coming up. Um, okay, Sami, can I bring you in?
Yes, there are multiple questions. We thought that maybe we can share a little bit more about the program. So I'm going to share a few slides. Some of these you might have already seen on the brochure, but we thought we just take you through them. And in case there are questions, some might get addressed. And in case more questions come up through this spark, it'll be great. Um, while there are program outcomes which are broader, like any outcomes would be, some immediate key takeaways from the program, and I think both Tripti and Prachi have also shared, is one big thing we are focusing on is all our participants through the program getting a deep awareness and understanding of their current self. And self means me with all my identities, me with everything that I'm made of, including gender, including the intersectional caste, class, wherever I'm coming from. So, a deep awareness of that and time to really reflect and connect to who I am. And wherever I am in that journey of growth, can I dream for myself? So participants can also expect to take away a compelling vision for their future self to accelerate the leadership journey. Something we keep talking about with respect to the program is that you are promising emerging leaders from the sector. You'll get where you need to get. What we can do is we can support you to accelerate that journey, and the vision is one way to get there. In the meantime, to actualize that vision, to bring that vision to life, you'll be equipped with frameworks, templates to guide you, and the personal development plan that Archana spoke about will be created with the support of faculty. And finally, you'll have a community of leaders and cheerleaders rooting for your success. And this community will include your peers, your coaches, your guides, your organizational advisors, everyone who's with you on this journey. Some of these key takeaways I thought we'll share. And then you've seen this, the program, from all the learnings that we had in the research report. The program split into three big modules, and that's what we are calling our curriculum. It starts with decoding gender from a historical social lens and how it shows up in the workplace. We then move on to the leading self and others module. How, as a leader, um, do you define yourself and how do you show up in spaces, and how do you take others along effectively towards shared vision and goals? And then finally, we come to leading change. That as you're understanding yourself, as you're placing yourself in the historical context, what is it? What is the change? What is the ripple effect that you want to create, which is beyond you and which will be sustained long after you're gone? So those are the kind of conversations we'll do over the 11 weeks in the program. Um, the here's a quick split on the time and how the format is of the program. You will be invited to a 4-day boot camp which will have different themes through the day. For batch 3, our boot camp is from 6th to 9th July, which is a Thursday to Sunday. Post that, every week for the next 10 weeks following the boot camp, we will be meeting synchronously on Saturdays from 9:30 to 1 p.m. For online sessions, online discussions with faculty. And along with that, over the weekdays, you will be spending time with your guides. You'll also have 10 peer learning group sessions where you'll meet your smaller group, something that Tripti was alluding to, and almost make sense of this journey together. So you'll be practicing, you'll be sharing, you'll be connecting. And we've realized that in the larger ecosystem of the cohort, this peer learning group has its special place by the end of the 6 weeks that we've learned, and now 11 weeks. We'll also have the organizational advisor structure. Most of you know this. You've given your references for those who filled the application forms. This is going to be your advisor and champion back in the organization. Someone who supports you, who listens to you, and who works through navigating this plan that you create. I think Prachi mentioned something about talking to her manager and what came up in the conversation and how she brought that as her key reasons to be in the program and then took it back. So the org advisor check-ins are something we are recommending to everyone, that as you're creating your plans, make sure that you're going back and talking to your advisor to make space for yourself in the organization where you are choosing to become a leader. And of course, everything, the base of everything we do will be your vision and your personalized development plan. And hence, I think articulating things like what's the metric of success, leadership is also very intangible, is something that we are very, very aware of. And hence, I think the promise of the program is to get you where you want to get. And of course, there will be reflections, there will be data we'll collect that will tell us how you're progressing. But it's actually the center of the program is the emerging woman leader who will decide where she'd like to go. And of course, we will be there we'll be framing the spaces for you. We'll synthesize together. We'll also share different kinds of perspectives in the room so that you also get shaken a little bit and get more perspectives added to your kitty of beliefs. And in at the same time, what we request all our participants is to share, to reflect, and do a lot of meaning making as they are going through the program. For some of you, I think there was one question around it. This is broadly how we've split the time commitments of the program. I'll leave this on. We've tried to split everything that you'll be doing over the 11 weeks. Yeah, with that, I'm going to pause and bring Archana back.
Thank you, Saimi. There were some questions on the chat window, which we had answered. I thought it's helpful. These are some things that I thought will be useful to reiterate with a wider group of attendees as well. So this program is for emerging women leaders. So the criteria is it's essential to have 7+ years of experience. We do have a strong preference that these leaders have at least 1 year of experience in the social sector. It could be across types of organizations, across sectors, etc., but within the social sector. Strongly preferred to be from an organization which has been in existence for at least 3 years. So these are some of the things that we look for. In terms of the program dates, I know there's a mention about the December because that was when that cohort's boot camp happened. But the next cohort, which is cohort 3, the in-person boot camp is from 6th to 9 July, which will be for 4 days, and then will be followed by a 10-week online learning component. The fees is 85,000 plus GST, and we do have merit and need-based scholarships available. The deadlines are also mentioned there, so just wanted to reshare that. What we can do is we have some of these questions are around the application process in itself, which we'll take. If there are other questions about the program that you have, that you'd love to hear our alumni perspectives on, please feel free to share them as well on the chat, through the question and answer window.
Arsha, there's a broader one on how's the program different from our ILSS leadership program in terms of content and effectiveness. Do you want to take that?
Sure. So what is common to both is that they're both leadership programs, right? The content, I'll come to the effectiveness is based on the content, right? Because what you set out to do a program for, the context itself is different. So the ILSS flagship leadership program is for people who have limited or no familiarity with the social sector and are now looking to actively transition to the social sector. So, for example, the profiles of people we get, a majority of them are senior corporate leaders who spend decades in the corporate sector and may have had multiple careers within the corporate sector, may have done some volunteering, etc., sometimes in the social sector. But I'm now very serious about having a career in the social sector, right? And so that program, while it focuses on leadership in terms of what is the unique leadership components of the social sector, it's a lot more about understanding the social sector. Whereas in this program, all our emerging women leaders are mostly from the sector. So they get the sector. What the work is really in terms of what are the dimensions of leadership that are specific to women, and there are broader leadership which will have a critical component in these women's leadership journeys. So the focus itself is slightly different, and therefore the content and the effectiveness and everything is slightly different. Specific questions around will you be eligible, etc. We can take them offline as well. Because in terms of, is this, so for example, if you meet the 7 years experience, right? I'll say that. If you meet the 7 years experience criteria, and then one of the other two criteria is where you're having questions around, which is either you're currently not in the social sector, but you are looking to move to the social sector, and or you're not very sure about which organization because you're in between a transition, do reach out to us and talk to us, right? Because which is why we said the second and the third criteria are strongly preferred, but what is essential is to have 7+ years of experience. Any other questions? Any questions for our alumni? We'll probably give folks another minute. Otherwise, we'd love to come back to what are some next steps and to go back over the timelines and some key pieces. And Tripti and Prachi, as we give folks another couple of minutes, anything else that, yeah, there's a great question. How effectively were you able to apply the knowledge from this program at your workplace? And I know you all started talking about it. We'd love for you to share more about how you've seen this at your workplace, both for yourself as well as in your work with others.
I think I can share some of the things that I also shared some of it earlier as well. But I think first thing that I definitely did after this, and I was sharing this with Saimi and Archana and Tripti before we started this session, that I couldn't stay very closely in touch with my org advisor because she also was busy at work and we couldn't like share learnings through the journey. So I think the first step that happened after this program, and as they were invited at our convocation ceremony, if I can call it, graduation ceremony. So post that, I did like a very long catch up with her where I could share all my learnings with her as a first step. And I think the reason that I did that was, which is connected to this question, is that so that I get that space to implement some of these learnings, right? And I think that is what really happened. Like I really remember that conversation. We had a more than like a 1 hour conversation, which is not very common for us to be able to do it completely outside work and almost talk about me and what do I really want from my role, from my work at Khan. So I think that happened. And then post that, I think what changed for me was that one, like, and I did mention a couple of those things for myself. One being like the entire decision making piece. And I think I really like shared my fears, which I used to have while to be able to take those decisions. And all of this push kind of came from, I remember again through Gayatri's session, which I'm quoting again here. And also through my conversation with my mentor. And I think I went back and I shared those fears with her. And I think since then, I feel that one, I felt that there was a lot of trust built between me and my manager, which definitely gave me a lot of space to run some of these meetings without even discussing things with her, and almost like come back and debrief if needed, right? And there have been times when she won't even want to do that because she has now seen that confidence in terms of me being able to do that. The other thing also, like, I think one thing that I've started exercising, and I did that again, this entire peer thing that has now been introduced to the program is something that I also took back to my workplace, right? So for communication and for being assertive, I think those are the two things where I've been asking my managees and also my peers, I think two and one each, two managees and one peer, to kind of keep giving me in the moment feedback, or like debrief after I've presented, or like just like decision making opportunities, or when I'm saying things to my managers about the assertiveness that I am showing as well. So I think I also picked up that very consciously and started doing that. I think last thing I would also share was, which I also actually started implementing at work, was like not seeing every opportunity as a futuristic opportunity all the time, actually like living in the moment. And I think I remember like my mentor very clearly called that out for me, that you should stop having so much FOMO. And I think fear of missing out has a very strong thing for me in my personal and professional life. And I think that was a good reminder that she gave me. And I feel that since then, like a lot of these conferences that I would go to, and I remember she told me categorically कि बहुत सारे लोग conference में जाते हैं and the only thing that they do is they share their business cards. Now, the point is that you can also leverage that conference to learn and build up on your own knowledge. And I think that's something that I've started doing very actively, because skills is what you keep talking to about your manager, but the domain knowledge becomes very like, I mean, it just gets, I would say, deprioritized. So I started doing that very consciously at work. And I think some of those things are really helping me find my space at Khan Academy, is what I can say. So yeah, that's how I've been.
Thanks, Prachi. Tripti, I know you spoke already a little bit about how it's been helping you, not just you, but also about how you've been able to tell other women that you have to grab every opportunity and also learn to say no. There was another question, so I did want to make sure we hear from you, at least one of you on that, as we just have another 2 minutes, which is, what kind of challenges did you face in managing your time for the program along with the full-time jobs? Any advice on how to balance both effectively?
Trust me, in my case, it was pathetic to manage. Like, it was seriously really tough to manage things, because Saturday is something, I am someone who's in a village, like in a remote village, working from a village. So Saturday, we got 2 Saturdays off. So sometimes it was like going home, or like my home is like around 300 kilometers away from this place. So on Saturdays, it happens I am going back to my home and attending the session from the bus, because there are no regular or proper source of conveyance. So I was in a bus and attending the session. And sometimes it's like there's no light. I'm just struggling for internet and everything. But it was worth struggling, seriously. And one more thing, like I want to mention, Archana, I forgot. The most important thing, what I discovered in myself, was my leadership style. I never thought about leadership style. I in this session, I found to know that what kind of leadership style is in me. That helped me a lot and I applied. I did this, applied in my field or in my work. So there was a lot of, hello. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes. Audible.
Because my network is showing it, you have a unstable network. Okay, fine. So it was really tough for me to manage from this village, because we have a lot of internet issues, we have a lot of other issues, and working with a team who are not well versed like with all those technology and all those things, because I'm working with all these women, village women, so they need me at every point. So it was tough to attend these sessions, but still I tried and I missed some of them.
Yeah. I can see leadership styles in the box. So folks, You come for the program and in these sessions, you'll have a sense of, this is what they spoke about. So yes, thank you for giving us a preview of that. I'm going to pause and bring Saimi in to be able to guide this group on what are really next steps for all those who are actively looking at this program.
Thank you so much, Archana. Thank you, Prachi and Tripti. It was great going back memory lane with you. And of course, I think having seen your journey from the get-go, it's been so beautiful. And a little bit of a trivia is that Prachi and I are also great friends from Teach for India. And just watching her shine today and share her learnings has been quite a beautiful experience personally for me. And thank you everyone who joined today and put their questions forward. It really helps us also make our thinking visible for the program. As next steps, these are things also on the brochure. So if you've gone through it, this is going to be much of a repeat. You know the dates. It's an in-person boot camp. The program starts with an in-person boot camp from 6 to 9 July, which will be followed by 10-week online learning component, which includes a Saturday sync session, large group, 9:30 to 1, but also has different activities, smaller groups that you'll be that you'll be a part of. Overall, I think what we recommend all our participants is to put at least 6 to 8 hours aside for the program as they plan to get in. The application is a fairly simple process. There are 3 essay questions along with a scholarship essay if you have the scholarship ask as well. We do provide need and merit based scholarships, and to ensure that we are able to cater to a diverse cohort from all across the country, we try to split it equitably. And hence, if you do feel you're someone who needs the scholarship amount, do write the essay. If you're someone who thinks that actually I'm okay, I'd rather have that amount be used for someone else, please mention that as well. We'll be very appreciative. The scholarship deadlines are 5th June, which 5th June 2023, which is almost a week from today, and the non-scholarship deadline is till 20th June. We will be constantly in touch with you. So for any assistance, Adil is your point person, and also Payal. I think she's just put her details on the chat box. A lot of you might already be in touch with her. They will guide you through the application process and any questions that you may have regarding the program. The application process is fairly simple. Starts with the registration, followed by a written application form. We'll then invite you in for a virtual interview where we'll get to know a little bit about your journey. Post that, the selected candidates will be receiving an offer letter, and post their payment, we'll induct them into the cohort. That's pretty much from our end. If there are any more questions, we are accessible on email, so do reach out. And thank you again for everyone who was a part of today. It was great having you here.